Yo, what's up, guys? I'm back, and I'm gonna be doing a Cage Warriors free bet of the week this week, and so I'm gonna be breaking down one fight, and I'm gonna give you guys a bet at the end of it. So it's gonna be the main event actually for Cage Warriors 135, which is tomorrow. I believe it starts early in the day for people in the U.S., but Cage Warriors has an event tomorrow and Saturday. They got an event for XMMA as well this weekend. So, make sure to show out and support these smaller shows because, a lot of these guys are going to end up coming into the UFC or bigger organizations and they're fun to watch as well. So, this is a good fight. This is the main event here with Daniel Skibinski. He's going to be taking on Justin Burlinson. And for Skibinski, he's making his Cage Warriors debut, but already very experienced. He's a former champion in Babylon MMA. He's faced a lot of solid fighters. His last fight, he did get a long win streak snapped, and he got knocked out in 45 seconds. So that is a little bit worrying. But before that, he had won 12 fights in a row. He'd been looking really good. And his opponent, Justin Burleson, kind of in a similar situation. He's going to have to bounce back from his first loss as a pro. And the loss that he had snapped a 22 fight winning streak for Burlinson. And Burlinson had a record of 17-1 as an amateur. He was 6-0 as a pro, so he was on a big roll, and he does have a lot of experience. Even though you might see that 6-1 next to his record and the 18-6 next to Skibinski's record. Burlinson does have 20 or 18 amateur fights, so that's quite a bit. And the fight that he did lose, though, in his last fight was the biggest fight of his life. Most likely it was on the Contender Series. He was looking to jump in and get in the UFC. He was a big favorite in that fight and ended up getting knocked out in the first round. So that is also something that you have to be a little bit weary with him. And I do imagine he's going to be motivated to bounce back. He's young and he already has had some success, fought on some big shows. So I don't think necessarily taking a loss is going to discourage him too much. He is going to be coming back and fighting in his home country, so I think he'll be ready to go. But as far as how both these guys match up, how they fight, it is going to be, I wouldn't say it's a striker versus grappler matchup because Burlinson can grapple and likes to grapple himself, but Daniel Skibinski is the superior wrestler, superior grappler, and he's going to be looking to get it to the ground here. He's a former world team wrestler for Poland, and he brings that style to the cage. He's smart. He keeps a tight, high guard, uses the jab, uses maybe a check hook, maybe some kicks. Not many kicks, but maybe some leg kicks, front kicks, and basically just stay safe. And when he can close the gap, get into clinch against the fence, or time that single, time that double, he does it, and he's really good at getting it to the ground. But on the feet, he is vulnerable because he is a little bit slow. He doesn't really offer too much. And fighters know that he's trying to level change, so they try to time him with big uppercuts, big knees, and he could level change into one of those and get knocked out potentially, which is kind of what happened in his last fight. And it was a little weird because usually when you attack singles, you avoid a lot of that danger, like the uppercuts, the knees, and things like that. But in Skibinski's last fight, he got in on the single, he was in on the leg, and got hit with a really short uppercut. Like, it didn't even seem like it was that powerful of a punch, but it really rocked Skibinski, and then his opponent followed up with some ground and pound and knocked him out. So maybe his chin's a little bit questionable. That was the first time that he got taken out in a while. And I've seen him take some big shots, but that was a little bit alarming to see him get knocked out like that. But Skibinski, the guy has great timing, like I said, on his level changes. And he's going to need to utilize the singles and doubles if he's going to get the win here. And when he gets on top, he has great control. He just mauls guys. Extremely hard to get up from under him. So I feel like as long as he can go all 3 rounds, he's probably going to win the fight because he's going to get the takedowns and pick up the victory. But I think if he, gets hit with the uppercut or gets hit with a big shot, that is going to be the way that he loses this fight. For Justin Burlinson, he's powerful. He has a really good jab, and he has some power in his rear hand. He has a nice straight right hand, good right uppercut. And he's good at pressuring. He'll get in the pocket, and he likes to let his power go. Has a lot of early knockouts. But his footwork isn't the best. He's flat-footed. He's a little bit slow. He kind of is a little plotty. And he really believes in his power. So he'll sit down on his punches. He likes to get right in front of opponents and get in wars in the pocket. And he will load up on his shots. He doesn't have a lot of head movement. And due to that, in his last fight against Johan Lenise, he got hit with the left hook, got knocked out cold. And Burlinson can put a lot of fighters out himself, though, due to his aggressive style. He has 3 knockout wins, and he's just kill or be killed. So it is entertaining. I mean, once he gets the read and he starts slipping and ripping, he is fairly effective, and he will start to move his head a little bit more in the second and third round. But still, his defense needs a lot of work, and more just relies on sitting down and showing his power to discourage guys from throwing back at him than showing good defense. But Burlinson, I would say he has below average takedown defense. He was taken down in his fight against Johan Lenesse early. He lost the first round against David Baer from being held down, which was his last victory. And he will try to get butterfly hooks and explode back to his feet or work his way up with the cage, but his get-up game isn't that great, and he can be held down and controlled. That hasn't been something that has cost him a fight yet. It's only cost him rounds, and he's been able to eventually reverse, get on top, and show his elite ground and pound, or find that uppercut or find that finish at some point throughout the fight. So no one has been able to implement a full 15 minutes of grinding on Burlinson yet in his career, but I do think that a fighter like Skibinski could potentially be able to implement that type of game plan. But Burlinson, he, even though isn't the greatest grappler, he will look to scramble to top position and has fairly good body locks. He's tall for the division, so that helps him out a little bit. And when he gets on top, his ground and pound is ruthless. He will let go with heavy shots, and he can put guys out quickly with, only 4, 5, 6 punches. He really gets really good extension and does a really good job of putting full power into his ground and pound. And submission game is all right. I mean, he has a couple rear naked chokes, but don't necessarily think he has a high-level submission game or anything like that. And this is an intriguing match because either Burlinson is going to catch this guy with something sweet and knock him out, or he's going to get wrestle fucked. So those are the only 2 options I really see going down here. I think Burlinson is going to be the guy that has to be defensive, more reactive. If he goes out there and tries to be really aggressive, he's going to get taken down most likely. And he's going to be looking, in my opinion, to pressure, but try to let Daniel open up first and then counter with the uppercuts, counter with that straight right hand. And I think he will be aggressive, but just maybe not as much as he usually is in his fights. And Burlinson is probably not going to be able to stop the takedowns. If he gets taken down, I don't really see him getting back up to his feet. Both fighters are coming off knockout losses, so that is something that you have to question for both guys. But if someone is getting knocked out, I do believe it will be Daniel Skibinski's for sure. I think Burlinson a little bit more dangerous. Both fighters are very experienced, but in terms of who has fought better fighters, who's been in more pro bouts, and just who's had more fights in general, it is Daniel Skibinski. And I am going to pick the wrestler with more experience. Maybe the more dangerous fighter in Burlinson will show out in his hometown, catch that knockout, but I think he's going to lose this fight either 30-27 or 29-28, getting held down. Cardio-wise, Skibinski does slow down a little bit, but Justin Burlinson isn't a guy that has a lot of experience in long fights. Even as an amateur, almost all of Burlinson's wins have came inside the distance, or a large majority of them. And I just feel like with this fight, I think that Skibinski is going to be able to see those shots come and time the takedowns, get on top, and maybe he'll lose the third round if he slows down, and, Burlinson could win that round. But I see Skibinski get his hand raised, and currently he is an underdog in this fight, so that is something that I do like on the money line. I feel like he is the guy that should be the favorite. So right now you can get him at around plus 120. And I did put a bet on him. I bet $100 on him, 1 unit. So for me, that is going to be my bet right here. Daniel Skibinski to win by decision in the main event for Cage Warriors 135. That's the free bet of the week for Cage Warriors. If you want to get access to the rest of the bets that I do have on this card, I do have 3 other bets on this card, I believe. 3 or 4. Gonna look 1 second. I'll look through the card right quick to re-jog my memory. Yeah, because I know. I got 3 other bets on the card. And I have some bets for XMMA as well. There's going to be another Cage Warriors, as I said, Cage Warriors 136. And there's also going to be a CESMA event tomorrow night as well. So I might have some bets on those events as well. So if you check out the Patreon,